Hi, and welcome or welcome back to the Future of SaaS Festival. We hope you're enjoying the presentation so far. Just a quick reminder, if you're not already a member of our Slack community, follow the link at the top of the event website to network and join the discussion. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. So we have Mark Simon here, who will be talking about using iPaaS to supercharge your modern data architecture. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Gemma. Much appreciated. Welcome. I'm Mark Simon. I'm the VP of Strategy at Celigo. I've been working with business systems integration and cloud ERP for about 15 years, both on the business side and as a consultant. So working with hundreds of companies over the years. A little bit about us at Celigo. We're a B-Series SaaS company in Silicon Valley, providing an integration platform as a service solution to which is a cloud-based platform to connect your business systems and data. What we're going to talk about a bit here today is, when it comes to using iPaaS to supercharge your modern data architecture, we'll look at what we've seen as far as trends in a modern data stack. We'll actually look at our own journey at Celigo as a rapidly growing SaaS company and how we've approached this problem over the last several years, going from how we started, where we're going, some of the challenges along the way, and then we'll take a look at how iPaaS can be an enabling technology for you to achieve some of the same goals. So the modern data architecture space has been rapidly changing. That's I'm sure everyone's heard. Apologies. Okay, that should be a little better if everyone can see the screen. So, as I was saying there, the modern data architecture space has been rapidly changing. And by that, everyone's heard about the snowflakes of the world. It's gotten a lot of visibility over the last year. But even before that, just a tremendous amount of interest that we're seeing from our customers, and smaller and smaller companies are looking at their systems, at their data, realizing they don't have the insights they need, and have been asking us for help with that. And from this, we've seen a lot of trends emerging. The power of modern SaaS applications is just amazing. I mean, their ability to solve business problems quickly can absolutely transform your business. Everybody here is obviously a believer in that. However, they often have either no integration or limited point-to-point capabilities, and this can create data silos, and that even when there's strong built-in reporting, it doesn't necessarily address the need to report across those applications. So you've got silos, orphan data. And with that, in order to grow, you need to make business decisions. And without data, good data, there's a great deal of added risk to those business decisions. So when you need to move faster, and essentially you need to pull your applications together. So working in the iPaaS space, we've seen this demand explode tremendously, and it's upended some of as these changes have taken place, and we've seen smaller companies come in. We've seen the approach to the modern data stack change quite a bit. There's some concepts previously of a lot of usage of ETL, meaning extract, transform, and load. And we've started to see that shift from more to an extract, load, and transform paradigm. So with that, we've got a little bit of a diagram but you can see here. But from an iPaaS perspective, we're already out there working with over 3,500 customers, connecting their SaaS apps, files, databases, events, and when they come to us looking to solve their data warehouse needs or fit into their data pipelines, we look at this, and we've seen this emerging model where the best solution is to build a replication across. So actually kind of what we call staging tables or mirroring tables, where we'll start to mirror that data using the iPaaS, and we'll do kind of what we call little t transformation there. So we'll do some transformation to get it across in the data repository, and then from there we see this pattern coming forth as a best practice to utilize a specialized transform tool. So that might be resident in the data repository. We see that a lot of customers using some of the resident tools in Snowflake, for example, to do that. The DBT data build tool is very popular. Airflow, for example, is another tool we see being used. Any of these specialized tools around those transforms can be leveraged as a best of breed solution to address transformation. And even some of the kind of previous data engineering, data pipeline tools like Python and Pandas can still be leveraged there as well. So we've seen this fit really well into the iPaaS space. And by leveraging iPaaS for this approach, you also get a lot more flexibility because you have better built-in concepts of reuse. And we also have a much stronger capability to get the data back out once you've transformed it, analyzed it, maybe use BI and push those insights back into the data warehouse, actually get those back out into your SaaS apps and share that data across them. So why is the market moving to this model? We see everybody looking to be on the digital transformation train. That's been a hot topic over the last year, kind of a buzzword, but it's simply because the businesses that are successfully tapping into their data and connecting their systems are seeing more success. So by leveraging tools, you can increase your speed to these insights, get better reusability. We see our customers adopting an agile development model for their data pipelines within this, and really being able to iterate, move quickly, and go in the direction that their business is going at a moment's notice. And with all of this, it ends up leading to better empowerment across the organization, not just in a centralized IT function, but often a federated model where departments can take ownership on their own, both for the data transfer and the BI side and analysis. So let's talk a little bit about the Celigo journey here. Like I think a lot of you are probably really familiar with, it all started with Excel. You start to have several SaaS applications. Our foundational SaaS apps were Oracle NetSuite, Salesforce, our own product backend product database, and then we started adding more to that. HubSpot, for example, the entire constellation of tools that often sit around a Salesforce from the CRM side. You've got products like Jira, Zendesk for support. You get a proliferation of these tools. We have close to 40 SaaS applications in our organization right now, but very early on, you have a need to start to analyze data across them. Even being a company focused on integration and unlimited usage of our own tool, you simply don't want to replicate all data across all systems. That just doesn't make sense. You still need to join it. And the typical route here, like we mentioned, going to Excel, extracting it, joining, this just results in a lot of effort, inefficiency, and a lot of reuse and rebuild, and ultimately data integrity issues. We saw this, and was a big pain point. And as our needs grew across the organization, we just had more and more constituents: executive team, sales team, product, customer success, all asking for visibility and rapid updating of data to get insights. And this actually started to limit our growth along the way. And one of the things that we did was honestly not get started fast enough. And that's a pattern we've seen emerging in the space. Is the need for these insights is moving downstream. I remember, I've worked with hundreds of mid-market companies, a lot of them in the technology and SaaS space, and at one point, a multi-system data warehouse initiative was something that would be relegated to only the biggest among them. And now we see smaller and smaller companies, sometimes barely past revenue, wanting to get visibility, centralized visibility into their data, connect data across multiple platforms, and get those insights quickly. And simply, that's because they're seeing the value from that. And for us, that's something we wish we really would have started earlier. But along the way here, once we got moving on it, we picked something that was relatively simple. We picked a cloud-based version of PostgreSQL. We could have started. We were at the time we were looking at data warehousing solutions, the whole gamut from Amazon Redshift and Azure and the whole gamut of tools. But ultimately, we just needed to get start with a set for a problem, get data replicated from these solutions into the database, and then start solving problems, writing queries, driving insights, and see where it went. And just starting relatively small was like really a key to building a lot of momentum for us. So where we started there was actually the very first sets of data we put in were some of the data from our backend product databases coming out of MongoDB, and then adding in Splunk, getting some time series data in there, and then getting that tied across with data out of our ERP in NetSuite and Salesforce. And we used our iPaaS solution to sync all this data into the data repository for that. And we wanted to start quickly here and move, and so we basically used a replication model initially. So we're replicating the data models that were existing in the SaaS applications. And while it's certainly something we'll talk about a little bit later about moving to more complex models, just getting that replicated data in there to solve certain problems, we saw a tremendous value being created, and the project gained a lot of interest and support from the various constituents in our organization. And we got to a really functional place with this in less than 6 months, and that included several iterations and efforts to take data and write it back into some of the source systems. So we do some analysis in there. Actually, in the BI solution that we selected, Domo, we actually write it back and then push it up into Salesforce and make it accessible. So, and that's really a key part of this, is being able to get it back out to the systems where users need insights. So this effort, it really surprised us. We knew it would have a big impact, but it had a much bigger impact than we really would have anticipated. We got increased visibility. It gave us a real-time visibility into where our ARR was at by the day, as well as a churn, net retention. Key SaaS metrics were now much more reliable and easily accessible for users in the organization. This gave us the ability to drive new insights, start to problem solve more quickly, better leverage data-driven problem solving. And with that, we started to see faster change in the movement of business teams. They were able to make decisions and move and optimize their processes much more quickly. And yeah, the one constant here also is that everything was changing. So we're always adding new fields, new projects, new modules being added to systems. We're able to keep iterating over this and consistently updating it and really growing it. So it started to really grow organically and gain momentum. And all of this moved several areas where certain business owners only received data maybe once a month or every 2 weeks, down to a situation where they could look at it, and it would be accurate within an hour or less, essentially near real time. So a few tips here how to build for agility, and that was kind of the big one of the takeaways for us was don't get too caught up in the end destination. Don't agonize over that. Focus on the near-term problems with the solution. Architect for that. Keep in mind where you're going, but realize that where you're headed is it may change. The product space may change that you're working in, and that was a really good example of where we thought, well, we need a data warehouse a little too early and got caught up in a selection process for a data warehouse. No, we really just needed a data repository. We just needed to throw stuff in a database, start working against it, building from there. And so biggest recommendation to any company is start earlier than you think you should. It will pay dividends, and when you have this data accessible, you'll be able to derive tremendous insights. Just about any SaaS business is generating a notable amount of data, and to get that consolidated has a huge value. And with that, don't look to just a single person or single team in a growing organization. Look to build competencies across an org, empower teams. That's a big asset of using an iPaaS solution, something that's going to be not require developers to do, but to engage with, but leverage business analysts throughout a company. The other thing we've really noticed too is that this data repository, data warehouse, it's constantly evolving as demand changes. You're finding different needs for it. You're finding different uses. We started out with Postgres. We quickly realized, hey, we're now after the using this for a while, we're like, okay, we're ready to take this next step. We're going to evolve into a data warehouse solution. And we start to add in more SaaS applications as well. But we didn't need to bring in 40 SaaS apps for this to be successful at the beginning. We could start with only a handful, get those going, get value, and then build continuously. And once that engine kind of gets some inertia, it really keeps going. It gets going and can provide just additional and new value every day. So how does iPaaS enable analytics? So an integration platform as a service solution will really help out in several areas here. The first is most likely that any modern business has a need for integration, and the de facto standard now for modern integration is using an iPaaS. So chances are you either have one already or you're looking at using one. Some of this foundational just system-to-system connectivity. Let's use CRM to ERP, for example. Just a foundation of your order to cash process, for example. Well, you're gonna need integration there regardless. So it ends up being much more efficient to take a solution that you already have in place, moving your data, take one that's capable of doing that and addressing the data repository aside, the data pipelines you need for visibility. So leveraging a solution that connects well and very efficiently to SaaS apps. It's optimized for the modern SaaS connectivity will give you a big jump start. The other thing is you should look for, in iPaaS, you should be looking for a solution that has pre-builts. So whether they're just templates or they're more advanced, at Celigo, we use what we call integration applications that are a step above and beyond templates to predefine both record, field mapping, business logic to connect two different systems. But these looking to choose a solution that has some type of pre-built in it that you can leverage, because you'll start to see patterns in your organization where you can reuse things that you build, or where you can reuse things that are already out there in the ecosystem that are published, and that's a key to speed up the time to value for your effort. And the end result there is you end up with much more repeatable pipelines, and with that, you'll find that you also need to support some common models for things. So you want to make sure that you're looking for a solution that'll handle ideally triggered events in your SaaS applications. And that's where on our side at Celigo with Integrator.io, we actually specialize in some of that. For certain SaaS applications, we have very, very rich what we call connectors that are actually installed in the application that will allow you to trigger, say, out of your ERP, out of a cloud ERP like NetSuite, you can have a triggered event, say a creation of a sales order, a new transaction, and we can push that out in essentially real time out to the other systems. And when you combine those capabilities to power the iPaaS, that becomes very, very unique, and that you can sync these things quickly. You get quick time and ability to deploy that, but you get some rapid data movement, and you can keep the business systems or the business systems in like a data repository from ever sitting out of alignment for too long, and that increases the accuracy and usability of your data. The other thing within an iPaaS, you really should be looking for something that has some transformation capability, and ideally capabilities to do large, complex transformations that are based on code. So you may not be planning to do a lot of it, but you don't want to paint yourself into a corner. So while in the model that we talked about, the iPaaS is actually doing smaller transformations, you still may find a need where you need to do a larger one, and that's where a larger transform capability, even if it requires technical resources, is a very good thing to have in your product that you select. So, and then be looking for something that is expanding and adding new connections and has the ability to connect to systems generically, because as we know, the SaaS application landscape is proliferating so fast. There's so many new things, you really don't know what you're going to want to connect to next, and what you're going to be using, and the insights that you want to try to derive. So future-proof yourself there by getting something that's keeping up with the pace in the business systems world. And with that, would love to wrap up and move to Q&A.
Presentation, and we do actually have quite a few questions from the audience here. So we start off with Jackie, who says, so interesting. Once you've established your iPaaS architecture, how do you manage the single source of truth in your company?
Jim, I think you were cut off a little bit at the beginning. Would you mind repeating that?
Sorry about that. Absolutely. I was just saying thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. So we do have some questions. One's from Jackie. She says, once you've established your iPaaS architecture, How do you manage the single source of truth in your company?
That's a great question. That is always a problem, whether you have a centralized data repository or not. So you often end up with this no matter what route you go. So that will be an issue. We recommend something called a federated approach, so that you have kind of a centralized, everything from, it could be centralized ownership, like with business systems or an IT team, or even it just in a cross-functional center of excellence, essentially. But really establishing some experts in your organization that can provide some templating and best practices. That's where an iPaaS kind of comes in handy, because instead of the old way of doing it, might be a bit more freeform. You can provide some better guidance on how the data should flow and integrate between the systems, and then set some templates in place internally. And then if other departments are going to be moving data around, do that. But it's good to have that someone in a centralized function who's looking at what's going in and out, because as soon as you start doing that reporting and making business decisions on that data, you definitely need to lock it down. You also have to start to have compliance concerns, privacy issues. So designating a function in the organization, or even if you're doing it at a department level, just being clear on, hey, who is holding at least some oversight onto what's going in and out, what's being changed, will give you some surety that what you're blessing, so to speak, as the official truth on something is actually correct and not being modified without anyone being aware.
Yeah, that's great advice. So hopefully, Jackie, you'll find that helpful. Our second question is from Teresa. We know our business is limited by not having an ability to report across multiple SaaS systems. However, we're still not sure how to start. What skill set is needed on our team to build out the integration? Do we need developers? A lot of questions there.
Yeah, those are great. And just pick somewhere to start. So just start by mapping out the systems that you have for which you want to get data. Find one particular reporting question that you want to ask. Maybe it's about churn, for example, and you need to marry your source of truth for customer data, your subscription system with your product system. Just start there. Start small. Start with the smallest number of objects and tables that you need. Get those together, and then start to play with that data, mine that, see what insights you're getting. But just pick a spot and then focus on one problem, and that generally will get you going.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that. So hopefully that's helped. And we have another question here from Rail. If anyone else has any other questions, do drop them in the chat now. We are slowly running out of time, but you've got a couple of minutes for any more questions. So Raul has asked, how can you combine automation with iPaaS to enable more self-service data across the business?
Great question. So we really think of integration as being one of the foundational components of automation. So automating a business process, for example, very often covers multiple business systems. So as you map out your business process, you're both going to be looking at what are people doing manually right now in those systems, but also what they're doing. Are they moving data? Are they updating, or they're having to go externally? And as you map that out, you'll see how iPaaS and can provide basically the foundation for that. Because even if you automate activities in those business systems, or if you automate those without integrating and automating that data movement, you won't have a completely automated process. And so those have to work. System automation has to work in concert with the automation of data movement through iPaaS. And marrying those two together will give you that full process automation that you're looking for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And we've actually perfectly come to the end of the session now there. So thank you so much for the presentation. Everyone, you can connect with Mark just up there on his LinkedIn. So do feel free to ask any questions. And thank you very much to Mark.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. It was a pleasure. Thanks, Gemma.
Thanks very much. Hopefully see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.